Hey guys, what's up? Tim here again, and I'm just going to be doing a Minecraft recorded video. This is actually a post-com. Normally, like in my Minecraft videos, I'll just like go around building something and I'll talk over it about a topic. But in this video, I wanted to talk about some Minecraft ideas that I had. I watched a video about the Syndicate project, about his ideas for Nazi zombie maps, or just zombie maps in general, for Call of Duty. And this actually inspired me to go away and make a similar sort of thing for Minecraft. Now, what I've done is I've thought of some ideas and divided them into three different sections. They are features in the game, crafting ideas, and game modes. So it's only appropriate to start with features in the games. So the number one thing that I thought of, and this is the biggest thing for me, I suppose, is less cave spiders. As much as I hate to admit it, they are a good idea. I mean, we do need a mob that can poison us, because then, that adds more of an element of risk to the game. But I think they do spawn far too quickly. I mean, I know there's like some sort of variation between them. Like sometimes you'll get like maybe one per spawner, and then, I don't know, maybe 10 in the other one. But I think they need to find a midpoint, like maybe, I don't know, 3 every 10 seconds or something. I know that's a unrealistic, spawn to time ratio, but I think that's kind of what I'd like to do. The second thing that I want to look at, really, is torches in your hand acting as a light source. Now, I've actually seen a mod that can do this. It was featured on Kevin's channel a while back. And it was a really simple thing, because if you put a torch on a wall, it acts as a permanent light fixture until it's removed. So, why not have a portable light source that may not give off as much light, but can still provide some, which should be useful, in a case of, oh, I'm about to go venturing into this cave system, and I only have one torch left. So, I don't know, maybe it doesn't give off as much light. I mean, I've seen a crafting idea of, a lantern, and it's a very similar concept. So that's one idea that I thought might be a good idea to actually implement into the game, as opposed to having a mod for it. The third idea is a way of poisoning monsters. Now, I saw this featured in the Aether mod and just thought this would be a really, really good idea to go for as well. Some sort of I don't know, just like a poison arrow, or, I don't know, maybe burning some food and then leaving it on the ground. I mean, in my crafting ideas, I do talk about a monster lure, so maybe there could be a way of poisoning said lure. I'll go into the lore later on. But a way of poisoning monsters, because they can poison us, why not make it a two-way system? So that's that thing. I'm just reading from my laptop here at the moment on Notepad, so everything just looks like a big wall of text. The next thing I suppose I really want to talk about is the ability to burn things that are actually flammable. Now, we can burn things like wood and coal, and obviously, we can use lava as a way of smelting. But why not? I don't know if this is actually possible. I haven't tried it personally, but the ability to burn books, wall paper, and maps and so on, because if you have those things in a survival map, that would be a really good element to include. So, you've got no wood, got no coal, and all you've been left with is a book, and you need to smelt some, I don't know, some iron, and, just use that. That's my idea. The next idea that I had is the ability to decorate, so stuff like flowers and stuff like that. I brought up in a previous video that I don't like lapis lazuli. I don't think it's useful. I don't think it's rare, because I seem to find it all the time, and people are like, "Oh my god, it's so rare." But no, I really don't think it is. And so the only use for it is a dye or to create a lapis block, which, let's face it, does look horrible. So if we were to use the dye for other things like flowers, or use other dyes to change the color of glass or signs, or just the style of painting, I think that would really, widen its useful range, I suppose. Oh, the next one, using different colored wool for different colored beds. So like putting certain types of wool in a certain order would make patterns. Like, I don't know, let's say you have white, black, white, and then, your 3 planks along the bottom in order to make a bed. And that would produce a checkered bed or something. And then, I don't know, let's say you go with green, 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 and then you got all your planks down the bottom. That would create a solid green bed. I just think that the beds, while they do look good, could do with a bit more variation. They haven't really been, worked on all too much, in my opinion. That's all I really want to say about that. And the next final idea for my features in the game, which I suppose could come under the game modes category, which is creative mode to have spawn commands. Now, I was looking at the single player commands mod, which I did used to have, and I'd always have fun like creating a trap and testing it out, like, I don't know, some sort of water trap, and then I'd go spawn 3 spiders, and then they'd drown, I'd get their string, and I'd know it would work. Or equally, they would just climb out, and I'd know it wouldn't work. So I think my main intention behind the idea to have spawn commands in creative mode is to test out inventions instead of having to wait around and see if your creeper killer surrounding your house actually works. I think that's about it. I mean, that's my last feature idea in Minecraft. The next thing that I want to go on to is crafting ideas. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there is a monster lore that I would like to see implemented in the game, but I think it could do with a bit more variant, because the only thing that I've seen the monster lore design around is 2 sticks and a piece of meat. And while that is a good idea, because I can just imagine it being stuck in the ground like a torch or a fence post or whatever. But I think that using different lures for different things might add more of an element of survival in the game. So, like, I don't know, using meat for a zombie, or wood or wool for silverfish, as rare as they are. So, like, let's say you put this down on a block of dirt, or just on stone or whatever when you're mining. If you come across any silverfish, they'll go to that first. But needless to say, you would lose the item after it being consumed. So if you were to have a piece of meat on a stick, that would act as a zombie lure, and as soon as the monster goes for it, they consume it, and you can attack them, and they'd be too distracted by the meat on the stick. But if they were to finish that lure, that would be it. You wouldn't get that item back because, well, it would have been eaten. There's not much really you can do about that. But what I've specified in my notes here is that there is no lure for creepers. And I think that's because you need a downside to these things in order to balance the game out, because we don't want it to be too endgame. The next crafting idea I had was a flare. So, a timed light source that gives off more light than glowstone or a jack-o'-lantern, but not as much as lava or fire. The flare would also have a bit of a tint to it to imply that there is a flare going on. I suppose that comes down to the whole coloured lighting thing that I heard Notch was tweeting about or working on. As I say, I just heard about that. I don't know whether that's fact or fiction. But the downside to this thing would be if it was lit within 3 blocks of a flammable block, i.e. wood, wall, glowstone. Glowstone isn't flammable. Wood, wall, paper, books, I don't know, just stuff like that, you get the idea. It would set that block on fire, and the flare, I think, should last a minute. So, it'd be really good in an emergency, I suppose, if you're trying to find an exit or whatever. I don't know, you can come to your own conclusions when it comes to these crafting ideas. The third crafting idea I had was a snorkel. Now, Steve, your Minecraft player, is 2 blocks tall. So you can walk around in 1 block, because that'd be waist deep. 1 block of water, that is, because it'd be waist deep, and you just walk a bit slower. Now you can't walk around in 2 blocks because your head is submerged and would therefore have to hold your breath. So the snorkel would be, I don't know, made out of sticks or something. And I reckon it would allow you to walk underwater for 3 blocks worth. So not only your height's worth, but 1 more block on top of that. And I think that would really allow for shallow swimming. Obviously, if you went more than 4 blocks, that's when the snorkel would start to lose effect. Because if it's going to be, you know, your traditional snorkel that you'd pick up at just a standard shop or whatever, it's just going to be one of the mouthpieces that attaches to your goggles. You know, that's just my idea about snorkels. The next thing I wanted to talk about was shootable targets to trigger redstone. Now, I was looking back at the Legend of Zelda games when I thought about this, and there were certain things you had to shoot with arrows, so like open a door or, I don't know, lower a platform or something. So, but the most notable for me being like the sculpture of an eye from the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time or Ocarina of Time or however you want to pronounce it on the N64 being remade for Nintendo 3DS. I would like to see this implemented in Minecraft because it would really, really, really work, in my opinion, in custom maps that people have built. So, I'm just thinking about, like, I don't know, you have to I don't know, shoot an arrow and then run a jumping puzzle before the redstone repeater signal runs out in order to get to the door. Now, I know you can just argue that's a use of buttons, but what about if you have to activate a target from far away? I think that would add a whole new puzzle element into the game and would allow for some really interesting creations. The next thing I want to see implemented, and I'm surprised it hasn't been already, is stair railings. I know there's a lot of people who want to see this implemented anyway, but I have thought about 2 possibilities for this. I'll quote my notes here saying, stair railings, otherwise you just end up with poles on blocks next to the stairs. Maybe have the stairs a little bit narrower so each cube has a pole for the stair. So each cube has room for the pole attached to the stair. Or maybe if you combined in your crafting table a stair in the bottom left, a stair in the middle bottom thing, and a stair on the middle row far left, because this would make the stairs too wide but allow for a handrail, and it would be solely for decorative purposes, because let's face it, a plant does that job anyway. So that's what I have to say about that. The next thing I want to see implemented, which again I haven't seen put in the game already, which I'm quite surprised about, is apple seeds. Now, the only way you can get apple seeds is from what's the name of it now? Dungeons. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word dungeon, but you know, it's a plant. You know, you should be able to, I don't know, maybe eat the plant, get a core, and then using the core get seeds, or do something else with the core. You know, Notch or Jeb can think of different things for it, and like plant that, and then get some apple seeds. Now, I have thought about this and how it could be fairly end game, so I've suggested that apple seeds, you know, plant an apple and you just get plant an apple seed, get an apple tree, which obviously would sprout apples over time. Now, this brings in the question of golden apples. Now, I have thought about this. So, if you eat a golden apple, you get a golden apple core, and if you plant that, you'd get a tree which can grow 3 golden apples. But those 3 apples from that tree can't be planted, because otherwise you just end up with an endless supply of them, and you'd never have any fear of dying in Minecraft. So for every 1 naturally spawning golden apple, you'd end up with 3 non-naturally spawning golden apples, or 2 or something, you know, because there has got to be still an element of survival in Minecraft. So the last topic that I wanted to talk about was game modes. The first one I thought of was a mode called Timer or Objective Mode. Now, I was looking at a fair few games, like FIFA World Cup, I think it's called, the latest World Cup game, in which you have a certain time limit to fulfill a certain task, or something like in Mortal Kombat, where one of the most distinct missions for me would be the mission where you have to kill the other enemy by throwing your limbs at them within a certain time limit. But these certain objectives, like in a certain time limit, like in Minecraft, could make for a fairly interesting game mode. So an objective like 10 minutes to reach bedrock, or 5 minutes to stack 30 pork chops, and each time you fail, it would take you out of the game, destroy the seed, and when you re-enter the objective, build a new seed. So it's a bit like hardcore mode that's in 1.9. So, and equally, if you succeed, you obviously, you know, would get the achievement for, oh, well done, you've collected 30 pork chops. But then, just looking, I'm trying to think how I can word this. If you would succeed and then revisit the objective, it would regenerate the seed for you there and then as well. So, I think that's all I have really to say on this. I mean, obviously when you spawn this new seed, it would be like a whole new world. You could have nothing on your person and you'd have a time limit to do something. It's fairly self-explanatory. And the other thing that I wanted to see implemented, which again could cross over between features and game modes, is a dream mode. So whenever your character sleeps, you get the choice of skipping straight to morning or running some sort of dream mini-sequence. Now, this mini-sequence could, like, I don't know, see how long you can survive, like, wave after wave with no weapons, or with a particular weapon, or just something like that, or a reward, or, like, some sort of reward, depending on your productivity in the day or something. So, like, if you were to, you know, I don't know, let's say if you do an achievement a day, you get a reward for doing an achievement in the one day in the dream. So you get a reward in the dream, like, I don't know, you walk up to a chest and there's 50 glowstone in it. I don't know. I think that could be interesting. So, and obviously, I don't think this should be available in peaceful mode, because otherwise there's no, like, you know, survival system. And in the dream sequence, I've actually thought about this as well. The physics would be messed up, and there'd be new blocks, and it's a chance for new blocks and new mobs. Like, I don't know, in the Aether mod or the Aether mod that I saw the Yogscast review, and Ant Venom's doing a Let's Play of it. There's a block called Gravitite, and if you were to hit something with the Gravitite block, it would float. So if you were to right-click a bit of stone with a Gravitite pickaxe, it would float upwards, and it's just a bit of fun. But I think that objects that are affected by gravity, so pretty much sand and gravel, would float upwards in this dream sequence, as opposed to downwards, to really signify that they are in the dream. So, and I think that's all I wanted to talk about in terms of game modes. Now, just as a footnote I've written here, I've written mention the Ender Realm. Now, this is something that I've seen on the Minecraft forums, that it was either Notch or Jeb tweeted about. And it was like an air portal where Endermen live, and what appears to be some sort of Ender Dragon. And in this Ender Realm, there's towers which kind of signify that Endermen are aspiring builders. Like, you know, there could be unfinished buildings or something like that, and I think that is such a good idea. I mean, I love the Enderman mob because, well, I'm a huge fan of the Slenderman sort of myth thing, and I was so excited when they, you know, included Enderman into this, into Minecraft, I suppose. And I know they get a lot of stick, like, oh, they're too powerful, or they're too common, or whatever. I think they're just fine the way they are. I mean, they do add an element of fear to the game. Maybe have them, like, I don't know, make them have a bizarre noise or something like that. But I think that's the only thing you can really change about it. I personally like the idea of them being completely silent. You know, that adds to it's sticking to the myth of the Slenderman. And it does add an element of suspense, because you don't know when one is going to appear. So that's my 2 cents on the Enderman. And on that note, guys, I think that's all my Minecraft ideas. I will be putting like a summary list, which will last about maybe 30 seconds on the screen. So Yeah, those are my ideas, guys. My name's Tim, and you've been listening to my thoughts, I suppose, on what Minecraft could include. I'll see you guys next time.